the serpent seed. Elia, Allah, Jesus, Sardis, Sardia, remember that. And where this chick at? Where's she at? No Pell. Pele, oh, Arcadia, Delphi. Where's she at before I go to the other spot? Where's where you at, Macadamia? Where's she at, man? Where's she at? Right there. Alimaya. Limia. See how they got God? Amia. Right? Okay. See it? L is gone, ain't it? La Mia. Why is that important? Of course, you know I got you. What'd I say right there? What'd I say, boy? What'd I say right there, girl?
Imagine a queen so captivating, so mesmerizing, that even the king of the gods couldn't resist her. This is the tale of Lamia, a name whispered through the centuries, her story wrapped in tragedy, power, and the wrath of the divine. Lamia was no ordinary ruler. She was the queen of Libya, a land that basked in the golden sands of the ancient world. Known for her radiant beauty and unmatched grace, her serpent-like elegance was more than metaphorical. Her lower half was that of a majestic serpent, shimmering in emerald and obsidian scales that seemed to dance in the light. But Lamia was not only a queen. She was a woman of strength, wisdom, and an allure that could challenge the heavens. It was this allure that caught the eye of Zeus, the king of the gods. In secret, they shared a love that burned as brightly as the sun. They would meet under the cover of moonlight, where even the stars seemed to hide, their passion so fierce it could shake the heavens. But love between a mortal queen and a god rarely escapes notice. Enter Hera, Zeus's wife and queen of the gods, a force as powerful as the storms she commanded. Hera's rage was not just jealousy, it was divine fury. Unable to punish Zeus directly, she turned her wrath toward Lamia. The curse she cast would leave its mark on eternity. Hera's curse transformed Lamia into something monstrous. Her elegant form twisted, her human beauty remained, but her serpent nature grew stronger, darker. And as cruel punishment, Hera cursed her to never rest, to wander the earth sleepless, haunted by the loss of her children, an unimaginable agony. Yet even in her torment, Lamia endured. Did you know that Lamia's story doesn't end there? Over time, she became a figure of fear and fascination. In ancient myths, she was said to prey on the young, luring victims with her beauty, only to reveal the sharp fangs of a predator. Her name became synonymous with danger and seduction, and her legend inspired countless tales of femme fatales and supernatural beings. But there's more to Lamia than the monster she was made to be. She was a queen, a lover, and a symbol of resilience in the face of divine cruelty. She reminds us that stories are rarely black and white, that even in tragedy, there is strength, and in darkness, a glimmer of beauty. Look closer at her tale. Lamia is more than a cautionary figure. She is a reflection of the complexities of love, power, and the cost of defiance. What would you do if the gods themselves turned against you? Would you endure? Would you fight? Or would you, like Lamia, carve your legacy into the fabric of myth? If this story has stirred your curiosity, if it has made you see mythology...
Now you had to see that. I understand. This.
Lilith was Adam's first wife. She left the Garden of Eden and became known as the mother of demons and the ruler of hell. People also think she created a kind of vampire called the Turk Han. So she's often called the mother of vampires as well. Hi, I'm Alina. Welcome to or welcome back to my channel. The Babylonians had a story about a lady called Lilith, who was like a storm demon and believed to bring sickness and death. They thought she flew around at night looking for newborns. People also said she tricked men to have demon babies with them. This story is really old, going back thousands of years. Some stories say Lilith was Adam's first wife. These stories come from stories about a goddess named Belili. Others called her Balad, or the Divine Lady. Later on in Jewish stories, Lilith became a night demon and was said to be the mother of demons. She was able to trick people easily and even pretended to be an advisor to a goddess named Ishtar. Lilith used to be a very beautiful woman. She was often compared to Eve, but Eve had red hair and Lilith had platinum blonde hair, fair skin and blue eyes. She was also taller than Eve, standing at about 6 feet and 3 inches. Both Lilith and Eve wore crowns made of leaves. When Lilith got banished from the Garden of Eden, her appearance changed a lot. Her hair turned dark red, her skin got darker, and her eyes turned yellow. She also could change into an owl, a creature that's especially active at night. She also had marks on her hands and feet from where some angels poked her with their weapons and threatened to drown her if she didn't do what God wanted. After becoming the Empress of Hell, Lilith wore fancy clothes in a Gothic style. Her clothes were often thin and showed a lot of skin, usually in black or dark purple colors. Her hands had claw-like fingers and her mouth had sharp teeth meant for tearing things. Lilith was made by God from the same stuff as Adam. One day she was walking around and she met Lucifer, and they had a friendly talk. This happened after God scolded Lucifer. During their chat, Lucifer convinced her to support him. He told her that since she was made the same way as Adam, she was his equal and shouldn't have to obey him, and Lilith agreed with that. When Lilith got home, she and Adam argued. Adam didn't agree with her. She got mad and left. Adam told God that his wife left, so God sent 3 angels to bring Lilith back to Eden. They found her in the Red Sea. The angels told Lilith to come back, but she said no, so they held her up over the sea and threatened to drown her. Lilith still said no. Then they threatened to kill 100 of her children every day. Lilith stayed firm and was punished by losing all her children. She said more children will come, but she was really sad and felt lonely and betrayed and left Eden for good. Lilith met a creature named Taniniver and they became friends. Lilith rode Taniniver like a horse. Taniniver took Lilith to meet an archangel named Samael. Samael had been kicked out of God's mountain because he didn't like people. At first, Samael didn't like Lilith either because she was human. Lilith told Samael that she didn't believe in being only for Adam. She wanted more for herself, something bigger and better than just serving someone else. Lilith didn't want to be involved with humans in the future and agreed with Samael about how bad humans can be. Samael trusted Lilith more after she helped heal him.
Orion.
Lilith and her steed joined the 2 fallen archangels on their mission to fight against God. They planned to make their move when the angels went to worship God. The 4 friends saw an angel named Gabriel guarding the gates of Eden. Lucifer made some stars fly around the angel to confuse him for a bit. Then Lilith told Tanniver to grab the angel and hold him tight so they could sneak into Eden. During the struggle, Gabriel hurt Tanniver, but the creature managed to scare the angel away. Inside Eden, Lilith thought about confronting Adam, but then she realized she couldn't hurt him because they both were made from the same matter. So Lilith decided to target Eve instead because she thought that Eve was weak since she was made from Adam's rib and was subservient to him. Lilith turned into an owl and whispered words to Eve while she was sleeping under a tree. This made Eve curious for Satan, who looked like a serpent, and tricked Eve into eating the forbidden fruit. Satan promised Eve that if she and Adam ate the fruit, they would have the same power as God. However, one of the animals in the garden, a wolfhound named Mira, exposed Lilith's disguise and she had to leave. Despite this, Satan managed to get Eve to eat the fruit and they escaped from Eden under a cloak of darkness. After angels fell and Lilith left heaven and people completely, she ran away with Samael, who's now called Satan. They went to a cave and it said they had babies there. These babies were some of the first demons and they were called Lilith. God punished Satan by sending him deeper into a dark place where he couldn't move freely. Because Satan was trapped, Lilith turned to Asmodeus and had evil children with him, causing chaos wherever they went. She later married Lucifer, who was the ruler of hell, which made her the queen of demons and the ruler of hell as well. Lilith and Lucifer had a son named Mundus, who one day might take over hell. Lilith took care of Mundus and made sure he was strong, even though Lucifer didn't care much for his son. Since Lilith became the mother of demons in hell, she also wanted to make scary creatures on earth. She made the Turok-Han, the first vampires in history, and became known as the mother of vampires. This Turok-Han caused chaos back in ancient times. People even wrote about their scary deeds on old pottery in Mesopotamia. Lilith also got back at heaven by scaring pregnant women, newborns, and single men. But she had to promise 3 angels that if she saw their names or pictures on a charm, she'd leave moms and babies alone. Lilith became a symbol of desire, leading people astray while also being linked to harming babies. Demons in hell got really scared when Jesus was born, aka the Messiah. Lilith even said she would eat Jesus to show how powerful hell was over goodness. She thought if she ate Jesus, the darkness would win over the light. Hell agreed with her plan, so Lilith went to kill baby Jesus on the night he was born. While baby Jesus was peacefully sleeping in his bed, Lilith and Nineveh covered the barn where he was with darkness. The only light there was Jesus himself, which bothered Lilith and Nineveh. Nineveh tried to dim Jesus' light so the bad spirits Lilith could come close and hurt him. But before they could do anything, 3 good angels came and killed the Lilith. Then the archangel Layla and her wolfhound Mira showed up. Lilith fought Layla for Jesus and Nineveh fought Mira. When Nineveh got badly hurt by 3 angels and Mira, Lilith got very angry. Lilith turned into a scary owl-like creature and tried to hurt them, but Layla covered Lilith's eyes with a veil. Then Mira grabbed her by the throat. Lilith tried to escape by turning into a snake, but Mira still caught her. Lilith had to give up and promised to leave baby Jesus alone. She went back to hell feeling embarrassed and mad, with Satan scolding her for losing. At first, Lilith was independent and friendly, but also proud and bold. This led her to reject Adam's advances. She felt like Adam saw her as less important, even though they were made from the same matter. Because of this, Lilith joined the rebel angels during the war in heaven. There she met Satan, who felt similarly betrayed and frustrated. Angels who were supposed to help Lilith and Adam instead kicked her out for being rebellious. She also realized that God listened more to Adam than to her. After being kicked out of heaven and running away with Satan, Lilith became good at tricking people. That's when she tricked Eve into eating from the tree of knowledge, starting the fall of man. Lilith grew angry and vengeful towards God, and so she created the first monsters on earth. Her demon children caused chaos and led people away from God's teachings. Despite what many people think, Lilith actually cares for Eve. Even though Lilith tempted Eve to eat the fruit from the Garden of Knowledge, she actually felt sorry for Eve and got angry at how Adam treated her before and after they left the Garden of Eden. When Lilith disguised herself as an owl in the garden, she and Eve talked a lot about how Adam tried to control Eve. Over time, they grew to respect and even like each other, especially since Lilith saw that Eve wanted to learn and know things. But Lilith is also known as being very mean. She does things like eating human babies and making pregnant women lose their babies. She enjoys playing and torturing her victims. She even teased her enemy Lila by showing her the remains of the babies she ate. Lilith also likes to sleep with powerful demons, gods, and even some angels, although she does not understand love. She prefers some partners over others like Lucifer, Satan, and Asmodeus. She's also not shy about showing off, like when she joins orgies with satanic witches and demons. Thank you for watching, like and subscribe.
All stuff you see normal. See? See? All things come from above. Yep.
En Spectrum sabemos que tu vida se mueve rápido. Mantente al día con la velocidad.
That's the wrong one. Did I pass it? I think I passed it. Yeah, I did.
What do we really know about werewolves? A werewolf, also known as a lycanthrope, is a mythological or folkloric human with the ability to shapeshift into a wolf or anthropomorphic wolf-like creature, either deliberately or after being placed under a curse or affliction via bite or scratch from a werewolf. The popular definition of a werewolf is a man who transforms himself into a wolf or is transformed into a wolf under the influence of the full moon. The werewolf is generally held as a European character, although its lore spread through the world in later times. Shapeshifters similar to werewolves are common in tales from all over the world and most notably amongst Native Americans, though most of them involved animal forms other than wolves. The myth of the werewolf exists in almost all cultures of the world under a variety of names. Most well-known are Wendigo, Rougarou, Mycob, Varkalok, Vilcaces, and the list goes on. According to folklore, were-persons are always appallingly dangerous in their bestial form, and may even eat their own human children or other relatives. Some of the first references to man changing into wolves are found in ancient Roman and Greek literature and mythology. For example, in the 2nd century BC, the Greek geographer Pausanias relates the story of Lycaon, who was transformed into a wolf because he had ritually murdered a child. In accounts by the Bibliotheca and Ovid Metamorphoses, Lycaon served human flesh to Zeus and was transformed as punishment for the crime of cannibalism and impiety. During the Middle Ages, Europe was under the dark shadow of superstition. Towns were underdeveloped, and people lived near the woods. The fear of wolves was like a nightmare. This was compounded by the fear of black magic, and as a result, many were accused of witchcraft. In France alone, between 1520 and 1630, some 30,000 individuals were labeled as werewolves. One of the most lurid and famous werewolf trials in history was in Germany, that of Peter Stuba in 1589. Under the threat of torture, Peter confessed to killing and eating 14 children and 2 pregnant women along with their fetuses. His execution on October 31st, 1589 was one of the most brutal on record. I will spare you the gruesome details, but feel free to look it up if you are so inclined. The most famous methods for curing a victim of a werewolf were medicinal, usually via the use of wolfsbane, surgical, or by exorcism. As with most surgical procedures from that era, the cures advocated by medieval medicinal practitioners often proved to be fatal to the patients. In present day, most fiction describes werewolves as vulnerable to silver weapons, but highly resistant to other injuries. This feature does not appear in stories about werewolves before the 19th century. Unlike vampires, werewolves are not generally thought to be harmed by religious artifacts, such as the crucifix or holy water. The first feature film to use anthropomorphic werewolves was Werewolf in London in 1935, which stands as the base of a growing number of fans for such films. Maybe you remember the comedy
Shape-shifting cats, dogs, still a lion, still a werewolf. Alright, y'all remember she said that Lilith like taunting her opponents, right?
Say hello to Zaxby's Southern Fried Shrimp. You can shrimp it on a salad, shrimp it with
Leviathan. The great sea serpent is noted in both theology and mythology. The Bible describes it in Job as having the breath of fire. Its breath is so hot and powerful that it can light up coal. Job also describes it as untamable and unequaled. But what is Leviathan? According to the book of Job, Job had gone through so much crisis and sorrow to an extent. He earnestly desired a trial with the Most High in Job chapter 9. So in Job chapter 40, God decided to reveal to Job how wondrous and powerful he is by showing him one of his most terrible creations called Leviathan. He introduces Leviathan as a great sea monster that inhabits the ocean and lets Job understand that Leviathan is not a creature who children can play with in Job 41 verse 5. What the Bible meant by saying children cannot play with Leviathan is that it takes the great and mighty to enter the presence of the giant sea serpent. God further reminds Job that Leviathan is so terrible to an extent that it cannot be captured using harpoons or spears. One amazing thing also revealed about Leviathan is that it cannot be subdued by any man, which gives us an impression of how enormous and mighty this creature is. Though Leviathan is afraid of no one, it rather drives fear into the hearts of its adversaries due to its perilous state. So in Job 41 verse 10, God's asked Job a very mind-cracking question that I think you and I should also think about. He asked Job that if Leviathan, who is just one of his creatures, is so dreadful and terrible that no man dare stir him up, then who then is man who can stand before God? So in simple words, God was just telling Job that if he or any other man is incapable of standing before a mere creature of his, then how can he think of arguing with God, who is the creator of all things, including Leviathan? Many people, including Bible scholars and theologians, have sought to liken Leviathan to a particular breed of dinosaurs that might have already gone extinct, but the Bible says something far different. The Bible gives a detailed account of Leviathan, its scales, its breath, and its terror in a manner that scientists cannot liken to any breed of dinosaurs ever discovered. Judging from the fact that the biblical descriptions of Leviathan, especially its ability to spew fire and its giant nature, cannot be matched to any creature ever known or documented in the history of the world, then it could be also likely that Leviathan might not necessarily be a physical being, but rather a supernatural entity that inhabits the ocean. Let's look at something very important in Isaiah 27 verse 1. In that day, the Lord with his sore and great and strong sword shall punish Leviathan the piercing serpent, even Leviathan that crooked serpent, and he shall slay the dragon that is in the sea. So here we can see the prophet Isaiah also revealing that Leviathan truly inhabits the sea just as Job did, and he reveals that Leviathan will be punished by the great and strong sword of God, which gives a first-hand impression that Leviathan could actually be a fallen angel, because we know fallen angels will be punished on the final day in the same order ascribed unto Leviathan. This kind of settles why Leviathan is not physically captured into any historic writings and sightings except the Bible, Torah, Book of Enoch, and mythology. But one thing is very clear. If a creation of God can be this terrible and dreadful, then imagine how powerful and mighty our God is. If you believe God is wonderful, type God is wonderful in the comments section, like this video.
Not nothing was made without him, right? So
there are many strange and legendary creatures mentioned in the Bible, such as dragons, unicorns, giants, and many, many more. However, the most terrifying of them all are said to be three mighty creatures created by God at the beginning of time: Leviathan, Behemoth, and the Zeus. Together, they form a triad of monsters that represents the untamed forces of the earth. We start with Leviathan, a colossal sea monster that personifies chaos, disorder, and the forces of evil. It is said that Leviathan is so immense in size that it can create massive tidal waves when emerging from the sea. It can breathe fire, emit smoke, and has scales harder than iron, which makes it nearly invincible. The Book of Job gives a detailed description of the Leviathan. Quote, "His sneezings flash forth light, and his eyes are like the eyelids of the morning. Out of his mouth go burning lights, sparks of fire shoot out. Smoke goes out of his nostrils, as from a boiling pot and burning rushes. His breath kindles coals, and a flame goes out of his mouth." The passage then provides further details. However, the animal that Leviathan is based on remains unclear. Some believe it's a giant whale or crocodile. Others suggest that this passage describes a sea-dwelling dinosaur. Yet, in legends, Leviathan is an evil sea dragon with multiple heads, or a primordial serpentine being dwelling in the abyss, who at the beginning of time was destroyed by God, a theme found in many myths and legends from the Near East. Leviathan is also linked with the idea or imagery of hell mouth that appears in medieval art and writings, depicting a fearsome monster whose mouth is the portal that leads to hell, where eternal punishment awaits the wicked. In demonology and magic grimoires, however, Leviathan is considered a major demon and a prince of hell who embodies the sin of envy. His role is to punish sinners by swallowing them and slowly devouring their souls. Next we have Behemoth, also known as Bahamut, is a massive and mighty beast, believed to be the strongest land-dwelling creature ever created. It is described as having bones like tubes of bronze and limbs like rods of iron. Once a year, Behemoth releases a terrifying roar that causes all animals, even the most ferocious ones, to tremble in fear. Its roar also reduces their aggression and violence, creating a safer environment for weaker animals to thrive and multiply. So, according to this legend, Behemoth plays a crucial role in maintaining order on land. Now, as with Leviathan, it's not clear what kind of animal the Behemoth is. While some believe it could be a hippo or elephant, there are problems with this theory. If we get back to the passage that describes Behemoth, the description here does not really fit any known living animal. For example, neither hippos nor elephants have tails that look like a cedar, which is used here to indicate that the creature has a huge long tail. So some theories suggest that this description could have been based on early stories about large extinct animals or ancient sightings of dinosaur fossils. There's a legend describes an epic battle between Leviathan and Behemoth at the end of time. The battle starts with both monsters engaging in physical combat. They are both evenly matched, leading to a prolonged conflict with no clear outcome. Then God intervenes, wielding a mighty sword, and defeated both monsters. Afterward, God uses the skin of Leviathan to create shelters for the righteous, and then they celebrate and feast on the flesh of the two creatures. Finally, we have the Zez, a griffin-like bird said to be so enormous that its wingspan can block out the sun. When standing, its feet touch the ground while its head reaches up to the sky. This description is so similar to other giant birds found in Middle Eastern mythology, such as the Smir and the Roch. Now, the Zez is not as well known as the other two monsters, and is only mentioned once in the Bible, where it is described as one of the greatest creatures created by God. His role is to maintain balance in nature, so he rules over the sky, Leviathan over the sea, and Behemoth over the land. In other words, these three beings represent the realms of animals, and symbolize the natural forces that humans could not hope to control.